My next guest has done it all, and he has certainly seen it all. He was a coach at various levels for half a century. He coached 3 teams in the NFL to a playoff berth, 2 of them to a Super Bowl, 1 of them to a title. He's in the Hall of Fame, obviously, but he might be better known for what he's done outside of the game. His passion, his care, his love of not only the game that he was a part of for so long, but just for people in general, his positivity, his tears. He's always crying. He's one of the best ever to do it. This is a Gallen of Questions with the one and only Hall of Fame head coach, Dick Vermeil. So honored to have, this is the first gold jacket in this room, I can tell you that. The coach is here, Dick Vermeil. Coach, thank you so much for doing this. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
You and I just got done, we wrapped up the, we'll start with the Ronald McDonald House because it's so important to you, to me, to the city. You were the keynote speaker for their premier corporate partnerships luncheon, breakfast actually. Mm-hmm. What is it, when you go back and think about the early origins of the Ronald McDonald House when you first got involved, do you ever think it would become what it is today, like an international thing?
No, I can remember we had the Canuso family in New Jersey doing the construction work on an old building, and you had people like Dr. Audrey Evans, God bless her, and Jimmy Murray, who was a spear gun. And
we just saw Jimmy. He was here at the telethon.
Yeah, and then... Leonard Toast's money, and other people's money. It was just not just Leonard, but it was, it was great. And our players got involved in it, and I've been involved now 47 years. It's amazing. It could be a very sad, depressing environment because people are there with children and are very ill, and they're living there, and the child is going to the hospital at CHOP every day and all that, and it could create a downer type environment, but it's not. It's a very positive, uplifting environment. People are smiling even though they have problems. They're handling adversity probably better than most people handle an Eagle loss.
Isn't that the truth? When Jimmy and Leonard and everybody came to you to pitch you on it, what was the pitch like when they said, "Hey, we want you to come work with us with this"?
Well, they didn't really put pressure on me to it. You feel good about helping other people.
Sure.
And we have a special needs granddaughter that later came into the picture. It stimulates you to realize no one's immune to family health issues. As soon as you think you are, you get hit right in the head. So,
no doubt.
No, I think it's very easy, very easy. And obviously by the number of corporate people there today that sponsor and contribute a lot of money to run the program, Philadelphia is an unbelievable giving city, really. When you really get down to it, we have our hard side and our crude side and our loving side, but they're really a compassionate group of people here.
And we saw that obviously on display there. It was about 300 people. It was a great, great turnout. It's a great organization. Everybody there is so giving, so loving. So that was great. And you were the keynote speaker, obviously, and I noticed you get a little emotional, right, when you talk about things like that.
Oh,
and you've always been an emotional guy. And football's a macho sport. We get that. But was that always, it always seemed like it came from deep within, like it came from the heart with you.
You got to be who you are.
Yeah.
And I used to be embarrassed when I got emotional, and finally I learned, I'm getting older and older, and it keep happening to me. That's who I am. And go ahead, and if people don't like it, the heck with them. And sometimes it deepens the relationship you have with people around you because they see you are sincere and that you do care. And it helps deepen the depth of a relationship because they know you have great credibility.
And I'm sure your players, fellow coaches, when you show that sort of emotion in the locker room or in meetings, I would assume it only strengthens the bond with those players, that they realize this guy truly does care.
Oh, yeah, I think it does, but I don't know. You can't plan it. You never
know
what's going to happen.
You don't ever know when it's going to happen.
I've walked into NFL stadiums and fans yell, "Hey, Vermeil, cry for me." I'm going to try to beat your ass if I can. But it's just, you have to be who you are.
No doubt.
Otherwise, people don't trust you. And eventually, I think probably I started a few people because I started talking about somebody I really cared about, get a little emotional, and then they say, hey, this is what this guy is, and you move on.
Yeah, and that's why Philadelphia loves you, and St. Louis and Kansas City, and across the globe for sure. Do you cry with TVs and like you're watching a movie? Are you a crier the same way?
Yeah, I can get emotional. I get involved emotionally in things, and I can get teary-eyed or holding them back many times. And I can hold a great-grandchild at Christmas time, and just all of a sudden get tears. That's just me, and sometimes I've been with my wife speaking, and she says, "Now, Dick, don't get emotional." And if I get into an area that creates that emotion in me, it happens. Sometimes I totally avoid it.
Sure.
So I don't want to go there. But I don't know if it's a positive or negative, but it's who I am.
It's a positive for sure. And I've always been an emotional type person, but I have a 4-year-old and a 5-month-old, and things change when that happens, right? Then the tears really start flowing for various reasons.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the NFL. Since I saw you this morning, we got a couple of questions about like what happened to the Eagles this year. You've been around the game a long time. You can kind of decipher what goes on. What was, in your estimation, what happened? What went wrong?
Well, I'm not in the meeting rooms or on the practice field with those coaches, but I think we have people in charge with Jeffrey and Howie and Nick that they'll find out what went wrong. But it's definitely there was a flaw in the process. I've never seen that happen before. And yes, injuries made a contribution, but Jalen Hurts did not lose his ability to play quarterback well.
Sure.
He did not lose it. And I believe there were some changes made in the staff, and sometimes you make changes in staff, they're better. Sometimes you make changes in staff, they're not what they were. But it's all part of a process, and there's flaws in the process, or they would have been in the playoffs and gone deep, maybe even win it all. But with the injuries and that, it made it a little tougher, and those kinds of things during the season. But they played 8 playoff teams and beat 6 of them.
Yeah.
And then they lost to 4 losing teams. You cannot lose to losing teams. Our motto was, not that we didn't do it, keep losers losing. Those are the games that jump back and bite you.
No doubt.
They really do. And I think, they'll find some solutions. There's too many good players left there to not be a good football team.
As someone who, you got to a Super Bowl, you had your down years as well. You were mentioning, I think it was the 81 season that didn't end very well. You lost.
We lost 4 out of the last 5 and went in the playoffs and got beat.
So you kind of know what is it like internally as a coach when you see things around you and it's almost like it's impossible to stop it. Is it a helpless feeling, or is it just we got to push through this?
No, it's not helpless. And if you have good relationships in the building and good people, they all share the burden. Mm-hmm. They all share the burden. I think the kids here shared the burden, and it can be a real downer. But I think in leadership position, you've got to attack the problems, but not the people. And it's so easy to attack the person. I never in my career blamed the loss on one person. I've seen guys miss field goals. They're going to beat Washington Redskins in the old days in Washington on a field goal, and the best player went. One of my favorite players of all time, John Shire, drops a long snap on the field goal that's going to win the game. So I just whenever there's a bad play that costs you the game, and that it was vivid to everybody, there's 6 or 7 other plays if we'd have made that other people fouled up in. So I never got into the point, and I think I learned that from high school. Because in high school, they take turns making bad plays.
That's so true.
Yeah, and they're hard to eliminate. So I got in the fact that I just would never blame one player.
Well, I think that, and Nick Sirianni does a good job of taking it on. Yeah, he's the head coach. He puts it on his shoulders. It's not just one person.
Right. You got to be a little careful doing that too much, because then the fans start believing you.
Yeah,
and the owner starts believing you.
Well, at the end of the year, too, as you know, the heat was turned up under him a little bit.
Oh, these radio talk shows, Mike. And I'm on the radio talk show on Friday mornings, and I respect those guys and care about them. But no one really ever holds anybody on these radio talk shows
accountable for
what they say that's 100% wrong.
Yeah, that's why I try to be. When I give my opinion, I want to make sure it's
criticize and evaluate negatively and all that, but to take on people. I made it a motto that I would never say something on camera. But I had 14 years of it. Yeah. that I wouldn't say to the person standing in front of me.
That's a good motto to live by, not only in broadcasting, just in
everything.
life.
Yeah.
In everything.
Yeah.
Who do you enjoy watching in today's NFL?
Well, I love Detroit and San Francisco
Yeah.
because there's a blend of old-fashioned football in it.
For sure.
People have become infected with the shotgun. And I think it's hurting some running backs. You know, the greatest running backs in the history of the league that hold all the records ran from I formation. They didn't care if it was 6-man defensive front, 7-man, or 8-man front. In fact, Troy Aikman mentioned that the other night during the broadcast.
Yep.
You know, and I think we get too sophisticated. But I like that. I like what they're doing. You know, I have 2 coaches coaching in Detroit that played for me with the Rams, and so I follow them close, and I'm happy for him, the way he approached it, tough, hard-nosed, and he drove them crazy in training camp. They wanted to walk out and go on strike early and all that kind of stuff. He said, fine, go ahead. I'll get somebody else to take your place. And gradually they get better.
Yeah.
You know, there's no correlation between working less and getting better. Never has been and never will be.
That's
why I follow those.
I'm going to have to write all this stuff down. This is fantastic. So, yeah, Detroit, love what they're doing offensively. Dan Campbell has done a great job turning that around. Jared Goff has been outstanding.
And
great comeback.
When he is on, he can throw the ball as well as anybody.
Certainly can.
Now, there are times when he's not on, he can't throw the ball very well. And I don't know if that's confidence or anything like that. But both 49ers and Detroit make throwing the ball easier for the quarterback because a lot of it comes off play action passing on I formation or one-back pistol-type formations where you have a strong fake that you control the coverage people in the area you would like to throw the football. Now, if it's not there, they can go on to the rest of the pattern.
Yeah.
But play-action passes, number one, defines where you initially want to go with the ball, and the fake you're using is used to control people that are responsible for that area.
Sure.
So, I always found out through my whole career, percentage completion and pass protection problems were not as great within play-action passing game.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What do you think the Eagles can learn from what they're seeing at these 2 teams left standing, Detroit and San Francisco?
The other negative is shotgun. You know, we got whacked by the blitz. What's the quarterback looking at on the snap of the ball? He's looking at the center's rear end. Not what's all of a sudden changing the secondary. That's a negative. That's a negative. And I've always thought being under center, you can see that coming. You can see it. You're up there. You're looking at those guys. Shotgun, you're looking for that snap. Hey, it was a bad snap in the Super Bowl. It cost us a win.
Right.
Okay? So those are different. So I think you have to be careful of being infected by the shotgun. Tom Landry made it popular. Red Hickey was the first one to really run it in the early 60s, the 49ers. His son was playing for me on the high school team, and I used to go to the games and talk to him about the shotgun.
How about that?
You know, and I put it in at our offense for passing game stuff, especially on third down against Dallas, because their defensive ends, too tall, and the other kid would get as deep as the ball as quick as the quarterback did in dropping. So we just snapped it to him. They couldn't get there quite as quick. So, you know, you do those things and learn. But I think a lot of teams are relying too heavy on it.
Right. When you think back of your time in St. Louis, greatest show on turf, all that, you obviously had a huge hand in that. Kurt Warner, Marshall Faulk, Torrey Holt, Isaac Bruce. I mean, the level of talent there was incredible. But you had to bring it all together because, as you mentioned earlier today, St. Louis went from the losingest team of the decade to a Super Bowl title in
3 years.
In 3 years.
Yeah. Well, first off, the ownership backed me.
Yeah.
When the players were bitching and moaning and coming up the back steps complaining about how hard I'm working them, he's our boss. You know, but really, my contribution to the greatest show on turf really was the overall process for 2 years prior to it, and then on to the third year. Now, I'm no genius in designing anything. I'd been out of it 14 years. But Mike Martz comes here, Al Saunders here, Jim Hannafin, the offensive coaches, they did a beautiful job. And that was the first time Mike Martz had ever been a coordinator. And he did a beautiful job.
Yeah,
but you can take a great coordinator and put him in a poor process. He ain't going to be successful. You know, in our case, my job was also help with talent. You know, the first one's already in the Hall of Fame. The third first-round pick is fifth time finalist to go in the Hall of Fame,
Yep.
and Torrey Holt.
Yep.
And the other guy, my first-round pick in '98, started every football game and played 9 years. Was a fine player. Now, he wasn't a All-American, all-pro type guy, but he was a leader, and he was a tempo setter in the meeting room, on the practice field, and game day, because the first second you took a breath off, you kicked your butt. So I loved those I was very, very fortunate. Get Kurt Warner, very fortunate. They could call that brilliance. A lot of luck to it. But we also gave him the opportunity. Our process, our philosophy, gave him the opportunity. But no, that was But everyone calls it the greatest show on turf, which I appreciate. But we know we scored 12 touchdowns that year when the offense was watching the game.
Is that right?
Yes. Interception, kick return, punt return, our special teams were second to nobody's. But we invested. I was the first special teams coach in the NFL. We invested a lot of time in it, and I always made sure I had somebody that can make me look really smart returning it.
Sure.
Yeah, Dante, oh my God.
He was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Such a key component to the game that you don't think about until it goes wrong.
Well, they keep taking the plays out of the game with a kickoff return. That's ridiculous. But that's just my opinion.
Last name is Gallen. We picked from a Gallen, and there's a bunch of questions in here. Don't know what it could be. Mm-hmm. Do you want to give it a shot, and we'll pull something out and see what the question is? Gallen of Questions with the coach, Dick Vermeil. What's our first
favorite
question?
player you coached on the Eagles, Rams, and Chiefs? Oh, boy, I'll tell you. I have so many players. Like Coach says, my wife used to say to me, Dick, you love your players more than you do your own kids. That's not true, but they were close. Favorite player
you have one on each that stands out?
On the Eagles. God, I don't have a favorite. I have a dozen favorites on the Eagles. I really do. But the first names that come to mind are Jaworski, Wilbert Montgomery, Harold Carmichael, Jerry Sizemore, God, Keith Crefley. These kinds of guys. And then Randy Logan, Frank Lemester, God bless him, we just lost him. Guy Morris, we just lost him. With the Rams, you got to say, out of that came Trent Green, who got hurt. But Kurt Warner.
Yeah.
Orlando Pace. The Chiefs, God, Trent Green.
He's back with you, yeah.
Trent Green is as complete a package as a human being and a football player as I've ever coached. Wow. Unbelievable. Complete package. And Will Shields, unbelievable.
Great lineman.
Unbelievable guy. Tony Gonzalez.
Oh, that's some talent. My goodness.
Tony Gonzalez, in my opinion, of all the locker rooms I've been in after a football game, truly hated losing. It just was not part of his profile.
All right, best game you ever called in the broadcast booth?
Nittany Lions were playing Iowa. I think it was Iowa. And it was 3rd and long. And Joe, God bless Joe, the hash marks are different. They get in an I formation with a slot set to the short side of the field on 3rd about 18 and run a play-action pass. And I turned to Brent. For some reason, I said, Brent, Penn State's pass offense sucks. And when I said it, I said, oh, my God, what did I say? My wife was ironing at home, and she said, Dick, what did you say? For years after, I would hear that on WIP.
Oh, I bet.
And, so on the plane, I write a personal note to Joe.
Really?
Joe, I didn't mean that. God, it came. Brent Musburger's spotter used that term all the time. I never used that term. So I write him this nice letter, handwritten note. About 2 weeks later, I get my handwritten note back with a short note from Joe. He said, Vermeil, don't worry about it. I agree with you.
How often do you think about Super Bowl 15?
Often.
Yeah?
Yeah. I've never felt that I did a good job in that game. See, we went in there with 2 of our 3 best receivers not playing.
Right.
And I tried to manufacture a way to eliminate the handicaps, and they didn't work. They backfired on me. I used Wilbert Montgomery, who was a leading receiver, out as a wide receiver, which he was very good at doing, but not as much as. And then when I did that, I took him out of the running game.
Sure.
See, so those kind of things. That bothers me. I just bother. I called a play, it was intercepted. I called again later on because I couldn't believe they intercepted it. They intercepted
Did it again.
I made the kid the player of the game.
Yeah. Favorite place to visit in Philly?
Oh, God. I love the Italian market. I love the little Italian place there on, what's it called? Off Broad Street, on the Pine. Giorgio on Pine.
Yeah.
I love that little restaurant. I used to be bookbinders.
Yeah.
When Albert Tax and family had it, I used to love to go in there and eat those freaking lobsters. Oh, my God. Yeah, no, this city has been very good to me.
For sure.
I don't think I've ever had a negative experience other than vet.
It's actually funny. The next question is best and worst thing about Veterans Stadium.
The worst thing about Veterans Stadium was the turf.
Yeah.
It was, and I blame myself for not backing off on them in practices, but at the end of the year, it helped wear guys out. I helped wear them out, but the turf added to it. Oh, gee.
Yeah.
It was
Unforgiving.
terrible. Yeah, it was not good.
Best thing about it?
Best thing about Philadelphia is the passion. The intensity sometimes can be a negative, but overall, the passion creates compassion. And I know that I still have people come up to me. God, Coach, that said today, that championship game against the Cowboys, the best football game I ever saw in Philadelphia. It's amazing how these people are.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Such an honor to have you in here.
My pleasure.
And great to see you once again, Coach.
Thank you.
Thank you.